We did a motorbike trip up to Scotland. I felt like the trip was cursed. And by 4 p.m. on a Saturday, I was in the back of an ambulance. I came around a corner and I remember thinking, if I hit it, I'll find traction again. Didn't find traction again. Managed to miss a car by maybe half a second and then slid across the road on my hands, knees and face at 50 miles an hour. Like, I knew things were bad. What I hadn't noticed was the hole in my knee.
What does being strong truly mean to you?
Can I get up and hike that volcano? Can I do that long kayaking trip? How does my body show up for me in those moments?
What keeps you going back to that?
I realised in that first month where I couldn't get off my sofa and I didn't see anyone, how much I value movement. I will always choose walking as a mode of transport because I can. And having to learn to walk for a second time in my life, I just experienced such gratitude for being able to move my body.
What would your main bit of advice be for them?
Look for what's going to make you happy. To choose joy. I very rarely expect people to say that their true joy in life is sitting on the sofa watching Netflix. And I think life is too short to not have the fun now.
Hello and welcome to the T2FIT Talks podcast, where we aim to educate and inspire individuals to achieve their full potential. I'm your host, JT, and today in episode 30, Setback to Comeback, we are joined by Alexis, a T2FIT member who came to us after a serious motorcycle accident and over the past year has rebuilt her strength and confidence. Alexis is a perfect example of what can happen when resilience meets the right environment and proof that one decision can really change everything. This is Alexis' story, and Alexis, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Apart from cold.
Freezing.
It is very much December.
Yes.
It's very much December.
Very, very big December energy.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, Alexis, I guess, actually, I was just saying to you, so I know snippets of your story, so actually I'm really intrigued to actually find out a bit more today. So I guess before we even get to, the accident, take us back a little bit into a bit of background on you, your life, training history, that kind of stuff, even prior to the accident.
Yeah, I mean, as a teenager, wasn't sporty or athletic at all, didn't do anything team sports, did far too much smoking and drinking, far too young, got to university, was blessed by good metabolism basically and could just get away with living whatever life I wanted, but decided I wanted to get a little bit strong, so I started going to the gym, working with a personal trainer a little bit when I was around 19, doing some lifting, fell out of that, started climbing in my sort of early 20s instead and got really into that for quite a long time. So I was climbing 5-6 days a week, going outdoors at weekends, and then that sort of fell off a cliff around 2019. And then from there on, I didn't really do any exercise. I had the obligatory £20 a month gym membership that you never use, but just sits there coming out of your bank account every month, right through until the accident. Then had a year of recovery, and then that's where T2FIT came into my life.
Amazing. What was it, I guess, that initially, even getting you back into, so you were 19, what was the initial drive to get you into the strength training and finding a PT at that point?
One of my friends just encouraged me to go to the gym with her, and she was 12 years older than me and just laughed at me as she ran rings around me in the gym. And I thought, I need to catch up. Like, this is bad. I'm 19. I should be able to do basic functional movements without needing to sit still for a week afterwards. You know, a body weight squat should not ruin a 19-year-old, but it did. I also, I was already into motorbikes. I started riding when I was 18, 19 years old. And the first time I dropped my motorbike and realized that I needed a stranger to help me pick it up, I was like, this is bad. I should be able to pick up my own motorbike when I knock it over, because that happens quite a lot.
Yeah, it definitely does, yeah. I've only got a limited motorcycle experience, but I've definitely dropped bikes before.
Yeah.
So were you always kind of road bikes or trail bikes or both? Or
No, so I first got my license when I was 19, told my mum when I was 6 years old, I'm going to have a motorbike one day. She said, what kind? And I said, a green one. So I've wanted one since I was a kid, but only ever road bikes, mostly sports bikes. And yeah, don't have a car license. So when I was 19, started working for Pizza Hut, delivering perfect student job. You get paid money and you get paid pizza. And they gave me a moped to ride around on. So it was perfect. And then, commuted for a few years on motorbikes, moved down to London, would ride up to see friends, go traveling on them. Big part of my life for many, many years. Now more an expensive ornament.
Yeah, fair enough. And then what kind of made you go into the climbing route then? Because the climbing's fun. I mean, I do a little bit of climbing myself, but from going from a PT to climbing, what kind of made that shift?
I'd just moved to London, just gone through a breakup, didn't really know many people down here. And I'd done like a little bit of climbing. I went to university in Sheffield, Peak District. Everyone there climbs. So everyone does it at some point, I feel like, if you're in Sheffield for too long. And I just needed something that got me out of the house, wasn't just drinking, and where I thought I'd meet some like-minded people. So I ended up, connecting with a fantastic group of people. There was a big group of us. We used to go on massive trips. Every weekend there was some road trip to somewhere outdoors. And it was a way to keep my strength up that was fun and interesting and social. We'd torture each other through various exercises. My core has never been stronger than when we used to do something called Ring of Fire twice a week. If you wanted me to laugh on a Tuesday or a Saturday, I'd just cry. But it was great fun.
What was Ring of Fire then? Because I only know that's a drinking game.
So I only knew it was a drinking game. So when someone invited me to play Ring of Fire on a Friday night, I was like, hell yeah, I'm in. And then they led me into the training room and I'm going, why am I here? So it was 15 core exercises for a minute each, followed by a 2-minute plank, followed by, I can't remember if it was 40 or 50 push-ups and a handful of pull-ups. It was basically just brutalize your body for an hour at the end of the session. And we'd all do it we'd all sit in a circle and do it. And that was where the ring came into it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand the soreness after laughing on that one for sure. Okay, so give us, I guess, an insight now into what life was like for you, like even the day, the week of the accident. Like, what were you doing, training-wise, life-wise, and obviously what happened in the accident?
Yeah, so life leading up to the accident, I was living up in a place called Chesterfield, which is Sheffield's lesser-known cousin. Weirdly, loads of people here know Chesterfield, though. And working in London. So I was doing a lot of long-distance commuting. When I was in London, I'd either be staying with friends or staying in hostels or hotels. So my diet had gone completely off the rails. When I was up north, I was just working, so 1,000 steps a day if I was lucky. Just because I was living this split lifestyle, I didn't really have a consistent routine, didn't really, would do the occasional hike. Or if I was on holiday, I'd do a bit of water sports or something. But predominantly, I was very lethargic, very, static in my life. And then we did a motorbike trip up to Scotland. And I remember saying on the Friday that I felt like the trip was cursed. And by 4 p.m. on a Saturday, I was in the back of an ambulance going, yeah, that curse was real then. It was just pure, dumb, terrible luck. Weather was terrible. Road surface was terrible. I came around a corner and I remember thinking, if I hit that patch of tarmac that's barely tarmac, I might slide. Like, if I change my direction or my speed or destabilize my bike in any way, I'm probably going to crash. If I hit it, I'll find traction again. Didn't find traction again. Managed to miss a car by maybe half a second. And then slid across the road on my hands, knees and face at 50 miles an hour. So don't recommend it as a pastime.
No, absolutely not.
That was quite a shocking way to end my Saturday afternoon. And I remember at the time as well, sort of screaming my way across the road. And I was with my ex-boyfriend and one of our friends, and we had these intercom systems. So I sort of collapsed into a ditch, lay prone, twitched every part of my body, and I was like, everything hurts, but I think I'm okay. And I said that out loud. I was like, I'm okay, but God, I'm in so much pain. Turns out that at some point in my rolling across the road, I'd ripped my intercom off my helmet. So they heard none of that. So my ex comes running across the road and is confronted by me going, take the keys out of my bike before it blows up. He's like, well, you're clearly okay then. And then, I had no idea how bad, I knew things were bad. I knew that I wasn't coming away from that unscathed, but I hadn't quite established how bad it was until I was in the ambulance and they said to the trainee paramedic, yeah, those are tendons. I was like, whose tendons? Can't be mine. I was wearing gear. And I knew I'd done a lot of damage to my ankle, but what I hadn't noticed because my ankle was in such a bad way was the hole in my knee. And yeah, so it was quite a big thing, it turned out.
So yes, the extent of the injuries were ankle pretty messed up, knee, hands. I mean, helmet hopefully saved the head. Or?
So yeah, all of the soft tissue in my ankle felt like it had exploded, basically. I think I did every tendon and ligament you possibly can in your ankle in one go. Hole about the size of 50p piece in my knee, but down to the tendons. So that was 4 stitches. So that was all left leg damage. And then right wrist and shoulder was bruised from where I'd rolled across the road. And that was it, to be fair. Like, in the grand scheme of injuries I could have sustained in that crash, I think I got really lucky.
Yeah.
I know, well, for starters, I didn't hit the car. And that would have been a very big thing.
Yeah, completely. So what did the kind of the week following on from that, what did that look like for you? Obviously, I'm assuming in hospital for a fair bit of it, but how quick were you out?
So I was out of hospital 7 hours later.
Oh, wow.
And I conveniently crashed 7 miles away from my great aunt's house. And I was meant to be going there on the Sunday for a barbecue. So I had to ring her and go, we might have some changes of plans. So the next day, so they booked a hotel for us in town. We were meant to be camping just over the border in England. So they booked a hotel for us in town. The next morning looked like me trying to work out how to navigate stairs. And I'd actually realised that my ankle was going to swell overnight. So I slept in my socks and trainers because I thought, I have no idea how I will put a shoe on tomorrow. I'm just going to go to sleep in my clothes. This is the only way that I'm going to get dressed tomorrow. Spent the day being waited on by my 6-year-old niece at my great aunt's house, and had a really lovely day while my ex-boyfriend had to ride through the rain back to Chesterfield, pick up the car, come back to Scotland, pick me up and drive me home. Yeah. So I got home about midnight, and at that point, that was the week of my summer party for work. And I was still like, if I move my train to Wednesday, get a taxi to the party, I sit in the corner with my sob story and make everyone bring the drinks to me. I was convinced that that was feasible. By about Tuesday, exhaustion had set in. Like, my body had just gone, no, you need to rest. And I was convinced that I'd be working from home and that everything was going to be fine. And as it was, I think I completed Netflix in the first week and Disney Plus in the second week. But I was just excruciating amounts of pain, absolutely exhausted. I went from not the most fit person in the world, but someone who could do a hike at a moment's notice, to I would hop as far as our downstairs toilet, which was maybe, 25 meters, and then sit there for 15 minutes to get the energy to hop back to the sofa. Wow. It took me a couple of weeks to even be able to get my toes on the floor. And then from there, probably another month or 2 of concentrated effort to turn that into heel-to-toe walking with a walking aid. I was using a crutch until around Christmas time, when I got fed up and bought myself a walking stick. Yep. And then that was another 6 months.
Wow. So how long would you say until, I guess, life returned to some form of normality?
Probably around the summer of, so that happened, the accident was in July 2023. It's probably around summer 2024 where I went, no, this is getting stupid. I'm probably just going to have an ankle injury for the rest of my life, and I just now need to work out how I live with this and get on with my life and just move on.
What was the aftercare like in terms of, I guess, the rehabilitation process, like all the way through that?
Lacking, if I'm honest. So I got some physio initially, knew what physio exercises I needed to do, was hit and miss at doing them, as I think most people are. But yeah, broadly speaking, it was just get on with life, pretty much. Didn't have the most comprehensive physio. I didn't go out of my way to pay for a physio or anything like that. I just did the NHS standard. And now I look back and go, would things have been different if I'd have put more into my recovery? Maybe. But I did substantial damage to my ankle, and it could just be that this was always how it was going to turn out. Yeah.
Take us back to the moment, I guess, that you then found T2FIT and decided, okay, now's the time to get myself back into the gym again and kind of find a routine and find these people, hopefully, that are going to help me out. Take us back to that.
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw the advert for T2FIT, I thought, well, I live in Kenley for starters, and there's not really much around there. This is the closest gym, and there's the Pure Gym, and there's a couple of others in this complex, and like a couple are maybe in Caterham. So I was always going to have to travel for the gym anyway. And I spoke to the guys here and found out about, you know, how it's all set up with the small group personal training. And what I'd always known about getting back in shape was, with my injuries, I wanted a professional to help me put together a program. I wanted supervision doing the exercises. I wanted to be able to push myself, but I wanted someone to make sure that I was pushing myself in a way that was not going to get me back on a walking stick, not get me back to being stuck on my sofa for weeks on end, not being able to walk. So when I first started here, it was an absolute revelation because, yes, it's personal training, but because of the small group, there's a social aspect to it as well, and I don't know many people in the area, so it was really nice, you know, getting to know some people who live around here. You know, guaranteed spotter, you can always push yourself a bit further. But initially I was like, I can't afford that. I can't justify that. I also signed up, it was around this time last year that I signed up, because I remember having a conversation of, I've got 21 days in a row of socialising in December. I am busy from the 1st to the 21st of December. I cannot pay this much money for a gym that I don't think I'm going to make it to. And someone turned around to me and said, if you can show up for yourself through 21 days of socialising, you'll set a routine that you can never get out of. Like, that will build your routine more than anything else will. And that December, I missed one session in 21 days out of the strength sessions at least, because I was not in London. I was visiting friends for the weekend. But I showed up every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 a.m. Didn't matter if I'd been out till 11, 12 o'clock the night before. Didn't matter how much I drank the night before. Pretty sure I've sweated out a lot of tequila in this room in that month. But it cemented a routine.
What drove you to do that though? And actually just go like, actually, yeah, do you know what? You're right. Maybe I do need to show up for myself. Like, was it just a mindset shift?
Yeah, it was. So I'm not super motivated by the weight loss side of things. I'm more motivated by the strength side of things and rebuilding my body. And I on a whim booked a holiday to Mexico last November. And through that, I realized that my body just wasn't as strong as it used to be. So as I said, I'd given up my climbing around 2019, but you know, even with COVID and lockdown, I still had that like base level of fitness where if someone said, do you want to go for a hike, I could get involved. If I ended up in a kayak, okay, I'd be struggling a little bit, but I could get it done. And I went on this adventure holiday to Mexico and struggled. And I thought, this is exactly what I want to be doing. These are the exact, you know, I want to be kayaking, I want to be hiking, I want to be cycling, I want to be seeing these parts of the world and getting stuck in with all of this. And my body should be able to do that. Doesn't matter if I've had a motorbike crash. I'm 33 years old and I should be able to move.
I think one of the things you mentioned when you first came into T2FIT, because obviously we get some information on everyone who comes in, was pretty much exactly what you just said there, was I want to feel strong and functional again rather than chasing aesthetics.
Yeah.
What does being strong truly mean to you? And has that changed at all?
I mean, December's a good time to talk about strength because we're going into finish strong here. And I do have actual gym-based strength goals. But for me, feeling strong is, you know, do I get exhausted trying to carry my shopping home? I will 9 times out of 10 walk home from the shops rather than get a bus or a taxi because I can. And, you know, if I've bought a massive shop, can I get that home? I should be able to. You know, it's the day-to-day for me. It's being able to, as I said, when I go on holiday, it's a running joke that if it doesn't nearly kill me, is it really a holiday? I don't understand the concept of sitting on a beach. So it's, can I get up and hike that volcano? It's, can I do that long kayaking trip? It's how does my body show up for me in those moments? Yes, great, the aesthetics of having fantastic arms, wonderful, love it, love the compliments. Yes, getting the PBs on the gym floor, but it's having the confidence to say yes to the adventure and worry about it later.
Love that. You mentioned there that you got some strength goals and movement goals, obviously during Finish Strong. Firstly, what are they, if you know what the numbers are? Because it'd be interesting to know. And again, secondly, was there a time when you think back to the accident that you thought, during that recovery that you'd probably never get back to those?
Yeah, so my strength goals are pretty lofty at the moment, it feels like. So I've just been so ill through November that I'm going to be kind to myself. If I don't hit these, I will not feel bad about it. Yeah. But I ideally would like a 100 kilogram deadlift. 60 kilogram bench press might be really optimistic. I'll settle for 55, but I'm currently at 50 and that's tough. And squat, I would love to get to 80, which is insane because this time last year, bodyweight squats were hard. Yeah. But I genuinely believe I can get to 80 this year.
They're decent strength numbers as well. Seriously good.
I also have an aim that on Christmas Day I'm going to do 5 pull-ups.
Love that.
I can do 3 at the moment, so I think 5's in my future.
Amazing.
So yeah, they're big goals, but my body gears itself towards strength. I am very, very lucky with my genetics that my strength has come back so quickly through this. And some of it is that showing up consistently 3 times a week. Some of that is the coaches pushing you, the people around you, the other members pushing you. And some of it is just my body builds strength quite nicely. Yeah. I'm quite grateful.
Yeah. Going back to your climbing days, community element and being around like-minded people was clearly something that was important to you. Mm-hmm. How much of a role has the community here really played in, I guess, the consistency for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. I am a people person. I describe myself as a bit of a golden retriever. So when I wake up in the morning and it's dark and it's miserable and I think I don't want to get out of bed, and then I remind myself that I'm about to come here for 7 a.m., get it done, start my day off with a bang, and usually with a really good laugh. So it does help. It motivates me, but I am such an extrovert that I need those people around me as well. It's like I feed off that energy.
Amazing. Love that. Golden retriever. Amazing. What was the one thing, or maybe even more than one, but we'll say one thing that really jumped out to you about T2FIT that you were just probably never really expecting?
I think it was the support aspect of it, if anything. And like the fact that it's not just about what happens on the gym floor. So I remember I had a really, really, really bad day, like one of the worst days. And I was not in a good way at all. And it was a Tuesday night. And I thought, no, this is the one time that I'm going to cancel. And I cancelled my Wednesday morning session and I rebooked for the Thursday. And I was like, I'm going to show up on Thursday and it'll be a bit better. And I showed up and I just burst into tears. And Bridge gave me the biggest hug. And I was like, if you hug me, I'm just going to cry more. And I was having such a terrible day. And she said, get it out now, do the work, and then we'll sit down and have a coffee. And afterwards, she sat me down for coffee and asked, what's going on? Is everything okay? And she was so supportive. And it was the fact that people show up like that. You know, I'd been coming here for maybe 6 weeks at that point when that happened. And it was just such a lovely moment where I was like, oh, I'm not just a member here. Like, members are more than just people lifting weights. Like, there's a community, and that goes through everything.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. You mentioned that, you got the goal for the pull-ups and stuff on Christmas Day, and you've achieved so much already, and hopefully through Finish Strong, those numbers will come through. Mm-hmm. But what's next for you? Is there anything on the horizon, 6 months' time, 12 months' time? What does, I guess, success look like for you on 2.0?
So my goals for next year are learn to kite surf. So success will look like my body being capable of surviving me kite surfing. And I'm not great at it so far. I'm going back. I've just come back from a week's surf camp and I'm going back again over New Year's. So success to me looks like my ankle being resilient enough that when I'm on the Atlantic Ocean and it's all choppy and wavy and I am being a disaster with a giant kite pulling me through the water, my ankle has the strength to deal with whatever adventure that brings. And then, I'm planning on going to South America in September, and that will be lots of hiking and water sports and all sorts of other things. So again, success will look like my body surviving whatever that brings.
What do you think keeps you going back to those things? Mm-hmm. After an accident like that, the injuries and stuff that you sustained, the changes to your life and, the time it took you to get back to some kind of normality, a lot of people, I guess, would probably shy away from doing the new, exciting, maybe slightly dangerous things. What keeps you going back to that?
It's a really great question, because I think there's two ways that you can go after such a big accident. One is you become incredibly risk averse because you don't ever want to be injured again. Or what happened to me was I realized in that first month where I couldn't get off my sofa and I didn't see anyone, what happened was I realized how much I value movement and how much I enjoy moving and how much I, missed that movement. So, people say to me sometimes, because sometimes I'll walk here. I need to get up early enough to walk here, but I will happily walk here rather than get public transport. And people go, oh, that's quite far. That's like 2.5 miles. I'm like, that's fine. It's really nice knowing that I can do that. I will always choose walking as a mode of transport because I can. And having not been able to do that for a period in my life, having to learn to walk for a second time in my life, it's wonderful. Like every step, sometimes I just experience such gratitude for being able to move my body. And I think life is too short to not have the fun now. I looked at what life looked like and went, no, I could have done that. Probably not as much damage to my ankle, but you can turn your ankle pretty badly just falling off a curb or tripping in the street. So I'm still very risk averse. I know that sounds stupid with my long list of hobbies, but I am extremely risk averse, but I want to have all of the fun. Lovely. And I want to maximize that.
And if someone was in that position that you were back then,
mm-hmm.
In recovery or just generally feeling lethargic or whatever, mm-hmm. what would your main bit of advice be for them?
I think it would be to look for what's going to make you happy, to choose joy. And I think very rarely does joy come from actually sitting still and doing nothing. It might not come from hiking volcanoes, and it might not come from trying to learn to kite surf or, picking up any number of water sports. It might come from dancing with your friends. It might come from taking a walk in nature. There are so many facets of movement. It's not all the extreme end that I do. But I very rarely expect people to say that their true joy in life is sitting on the sofa watching Netflix. And so build yourself those opportunities to bring that energy.
And if you had someone in front of you who was, I guess, sitting on the fence about joining the T2FIT program,
mm-hmm.
what would your advice be to them?
I would say come down and do a trial session. Come down and join just one session, see the energy that everyone brings, get stuck in, see how the coaches interact with everyone. I was so on the fence. I did a trial session, and 3 hours later, I was sort of moving money around my bank accounts going, I can find this, I can do this. I think you just have to be part of it to really understand what it will bring to your life.
Amazing. Alexis, thank you so much for sharing that story. I really appreciate
problem.
it. And I think we can all take a little bit of Alexis's mindset, and I can definitely try and channel the, what dog was it? The golden retriever. I definitely need to channel a bit more of that. But there you have it. It's Alexis' story. And share, comment as always. And we'll see you again very, very soon for the next one.